Okay, here we go. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the mailing of notice of the regular scheduled meetings of the Municipal Council for the year 2022, which was published as a legal advertisement in the Herald News and the Record on December 11th, 2021. Further notice of this meeting was given on the Friday prior to the meeting. Posting said notice on the bulletin board at City Hall and on the City of Clifton website, which notice stated that formal action may or may not become before the Municipal Council. Roll call.
Councilman Niegler.
I'm here, present.
Councilman Gibson.
Here.
Councilman Grabowski.
Here.
Councilwoman Murphy. Councilwoman Pino.
Here.
Councilwoman Sedgwick.
Here.
Mayor Rinaldi.
Here.
We have a quorum.
This evening's invocation will be given by Pastor Daisy, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please rise.
Let's bow our heads as I pray. Dear God, it's a joy to begin this month to celebrate Christmas, the birth of our King Jesus, our Lord, the Son of God. It's an honor for me to bring this invocation since I am your servant. Lord, I pray for Mayor Ansaldi as he retired from these heavy responsibilities through many years of serving as mayor. I also pray for the other leaders, the councilwomen and councilmen, working together with the mayor. They face many challenges. I pray for all of them. We pray for a special energy and optimism as renewed hope to face the future 2023. Together, we quite literally face many storms in these past years, and even the destruction power of the century pandemic. There is much healing and rebuilding to accomplish, and there will be challenge coming in the way of which we're not even aware of. What is going to sustain them as they move forward with the next mayor? His faith in God, the God who loves them all, the God who called them to serve the city of Clifton, to be shining in the city on a hill. Faith with the ability of human beings to cooperate and collaborate for mutual good, trusting in God and themselves, that they can be moral agents for goodness, truth, and love for one another. We pray for this evening to guide them and protect them as they go to the end of this year to accomplish their duties. Thank you for all of you for allowing me to do this invocation and all other invocations. I will continue to serve as far as you allow me, and with God's help, I'll be here when you call me. Thank you, Mayor, and all of you. My blessings to all of you. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Daisy. Merry Christmas to you. Okay, we have two public hearings. One is on the Clifton Downtown Economic Group, and one is on the Clifton Historic Botany District Group. This is for their budgets. Does anyone wish to speak on either one of those? Okay.
Mayor, if no one wishes to be heard, I move the public portion be closed.
Second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
may I ask a question of
Yeah.
Ms. Sidoti regarding the
Yes.
second budget?
Okay. Go ahead.
Just
Donna?
It's regarding the Botany SID budget. Donna, the question is this. I see that the actual budget is $95,000, but there's an additional $30,000 that's outside of the budget. It's for SID Security Patrol Services. Is the $30,000 being funded by the CDBG program? Yes. It is. So in essence, then, it would not be entered into the budget? It would be a separate outside of? Revenue?
Sources that they get, so they put in their budget as receivable.
Got it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Donna.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve minutes?
Motion to
So
approve
moved.
minutes.
Second.
Hearing no objection, so ordered. Petitions, communications.
Various communications submitted by the city manager. Meeting minutes of the Traffic Safety Council of October 20th, CATV Committee of September 28th, Historical Commission of October 6th, Board of Rec, September 19th, Board of Adjustment, November 16th, Clifton Senior Advisory Meeting of November 29th. This concludes communications, Mayor.
Communications are received and filed. Ordinances.
Here we go. Second reading ordinances, 7778, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-37 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets, deletes 3 handicap spaces.
A public hearing be held on this ordinance. Does anyone wish to speak?
Mayor, if no one wishes to be heard, I move the public portion be closed and this ordinance adopted on final affirmative vote.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Pino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7779, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-38 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets for Private Residences, adds 12 restricted handicap spaces.
A public hearing be held on this ordinance. Does anyone wish to be heard?
Mayor, if no one wishes to be heard, I move the public portion be closed and the ordinance be adopted upon
Second.
final reading.
Roll call.
Second.
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7780, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-38 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets for Private Residences, deletes 4 restricted handicap spaces.
A public hearing be held on this ordinance. Does anyone wish to be heard?
Mayor, if no one wishes to be heard, I move the public portion be closed and this be adopted upon the final affirmative vote.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Eager?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7781, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-38 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets for Private Residences, amends handicap parking placard number.
A public hearing be held on this one. Does anyone wish to be heard?
Mayor, if no one wishes to be heard, I move the public portion be closed and this ordinance adopted on final affirmative vote.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Pino?
Yes.
Councilman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried. First reading ordinance is 7782, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 367 of the Code of the City of Clifton entitled Restaurants at various locations to change the name of the chapter to Retail Food Establishments, revises licensing provisions, and updates various other sections to conform with state regulations.
Move it on first.
Roll call.
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino? Councilwoman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7783, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-37 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets, deletes 1 handicap space.
Move it on first.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy? Councilwoman Pino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7784, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-38 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets for Private Residences, at 6 restricted handicap spaces.
Move it on first.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy? Councilwoman Pino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7785, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-38 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets for Private Residences, deletes one restricted handicap space.
Move it on first.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Gabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Pino?
Yes.
Councilman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7786, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 439 of the Code of the City of Clifton entitled Vehicles and Traffic, more particularly Section 439-38 thereof, entitled Handicap Parking on Streets for Private Residences, amends handicap parking placard number.
Move it on first.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Gabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Pino?
Yes.
Councilman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7787, an ordinance accepting, approving, and authorizing a roadway easement with Alexander Charles Realty Company, LLC, and Costco Wholesale Corporation for property at Block 72.06, Lot 38, in the city of Clifton for public roadway purposes.
Move it on first.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Gabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Pino?
Yes.
Councilman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried. 7788, an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 99 of the Code of the City of Clifton, entitled Salaries and Compensation, more particularly Article 2 thereof, entitled Non-Uniform Officials and Employees, Section 99-2, entitled Minimum Maximum Salaries Fixed, Uniform Allowances, amends 2022, 23, 24, and 25 salaries for non-DPW titles.
Move it on first.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Gabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Pino?
Yes.
Councilman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion carried, and this concludes ordinances, Mayor.
These ordinances will be published in accordance with the law. Mr. Valano, do you have anything tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I see a lot of citizens in the audience, so I'm going to relinquish my time, and I will turn it over to the speakers.
Very good. Okay, so the next portion of the meeting, I think maybe there might be one or two people want to speak, I guess. And comments or proceedings. We're going to use that microphone where the podium is. Speaking is permitted for 5 minutes and 5 minutes only. If it's less, it's fine. Please refrain from emotional responses, either in favor of or against any speaker. And in order to maintain decorum, I request that there be no derogatory statements be made against any person or any member of their families or anything like that. Members of the council are asked to refrain from responding to the public at this time. You may respond during the privilege of the floor. That's right out of our rules of order, so I figured we might have some people that have never been here before, so I read it. Okay, let's go. Name and address for the record.
Okay, Sharon Korbanek, 685 Van Houten Avenue. Hello. I want to first congratulate the re-elected Clifton council people and the two newly elected council members as well, so congratulations to all. Also, others who participated in the election but this time did not get a seat, we do appreciate your effort and your passion. It has not gone unnoticed, and we do thank you as well. When voting, I and the citizens of Clifton are under the impression that the highest votes for a particular candidate will become mayor, as this has been happening for many, many years in Clifton. I went to vote under this standard. In fact, in 2018, yourself, Bill, and all candidates running did vote yes, as the highest vote would become mayor. Someone may have a tape of this, I'm not sure. But an unsettling update has happened and it needs to be addressed. 4 years ago, Bill came in lower than the top 3 highest votes and was not near to becoming mayor. The highest votes, who was James Rinaldi, was again mayor, and a big thank you for your continued service to us all. In November 2022 election, the highest votes were for Ray Grabowski. Again, highest votes equal mayor. This election, Bill came in second place by not getting many additional more votes to qualify. Now he wants the title. He really is showing the entire city of Clifton that, in my eyes, in my opinion, he's putting his ego, his jealousy, his selfishness, and his own personal agenda ahead of, instead of, what is best for the entire city of Clifton and its many residents. Again, many more people voted for Ray Grabowski, as they did want him to become mayor. Bill, I mean, right now, in my opinion, your integrity and your reputation are now very questionable to me, and so are your future decisions. I have lost faith in you in doing what is best for all the citizens of Clifton. You know, just because you want a toy doesn't mean you're able to have it. You're supposed to be working harmoniously within the council, and before it even convenes for the first time, you're causing friction and division. And if some others are following suit, then these others are also just as disappointing to me as Bill. There were multiple council meetings that you had to excuse yourself from a particular vote because of your conflict of interest and past affiliation. And Clifton wants a person who can vote on issues, and that is Ray Grabowski as mayor. I ask you, Bill, are you able to put away your ego, your jealousy, your selfishness, and your own personal agenda and be the councilman and do what is best for all the thousands and thousands of Clifton residents? And we all hope so. Thank you.
Okay, this is exactly, why I read the rules of order. You're not allowed to do what you just did, okay? If you agree with the speaker, that's nice, but let's have these outbursts because we'll be here till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you.
And I'm too old to get up. I'm almost past my bedtime now. Go ahead.
All right. Good evening. My name is Kim Renta. I live on Pershing Road. It's my first time speaking in a while. Before I get started, I just wanted to say a special thank you to Councilman Eagler and Mayor Anzaldi for your decades of service to the city of Clifton. Also, congratulations to our newly re-elected council and to Mr. Latona and Mr. Kaloje. Looking forward to seeing some good work from everyone in the coming years. After following council elections for many years, the one question that always came up in public forums or debates was how the council would go about selecting a mayor after the election, and if they would abide by the long-standing tradition of awarding that spot to the highest vote getter. My husband moderated council forums for several election cycles, and it was a common question. I even located the 2018 forum where every council person sitting on the dais tonight was asked that question and vowed to follow tradition. I shared that video clip on the Clifton News and Community Facebook group if anyone is interested in watching it. Unfortunately, in this election cycle, that question was never asked at any of the public forums or the ballot box tapings. In addition, there was a secondary question as to what our council people would do in the event that a council person isn't able to complete their 4-year term. Precedent has been set where the 8th place finisher will take that spot until a special election can be held for the single seat. In this case, it would be 8th place finisher Chris D'Amato, who I think is here tonight. During your public comments tonight, I would ask each of you to answer those 2 questions and to state why you would or would not follow precedent, tradition, and the voice of the voters, most importantly, in appointing the highest vote getter as our next mayor. Thank you.
Next.
You know, everybody comes to the mic and says, I had no intention of speaking tonight, and now I know what they mean. I really had no intention of speaking tonight, right? Yeah. I actually came to talk about Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, but then I realized that...
Sir, you have to give your name.
Oh, Joe Capoli, formerly of 71 Hackberry Place, now 32 Mulberry Court in Paramus. 32 Mulberry, Mulberry Court. And it's great to see this courtroom filled. It's great to see Council-elect Joe Kaloje and Council-elect Tony Latona, where he's in here somewhere, who got elected with me, and then, whatever. So as much as Clifton wants change, we don't. Like, we elected 2 people that are formerly council electees, and good people. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're really good people. And as I watched the council election from afar, there were some great candidates to choose from, there really was. I mean, Chris worked hard, Alessia worked hard, everybody worked hard, so I appreciate it. But when it comes to this and talking to Bill and you know, his position is, if I get nominated, I'm going to take the nomination. I'm not going to say no. But really, on the council, it's the tradition of Clifton to nominate and elect the highest vote getter. It's the tradition, it's not the law. It's the tradition, it's not the law. And I think that tradition in our world today kind of sometimes takes a backseat to law. But tradition is important. I mean, we all go through our holiday traditions, we go through our family traditions, and tradition's important. And I think that this new council coming in should really recognize the tradition that, you know, the public spoke and the public elected Ray by 9,210 votes, and that's tradition. And just, this shouldn't be, we should all be home watching Tuesday night Maction on TV, the football game or basketball game, whatever's on, hockey, whatever you're into. But I think tradition's important. Tradition's important to me. And I don't, you know, in the conversation with Bill, if he's not going to say no, I wouldn't say no either. If they said, hey, you want to be, make me mayor, I don't care. So I think tradition's important. And I think that everybody in this room needs to recognize that. You guys don't vote, though. It's the new 7 people up here that vote. So if it's important to you, reach out to your council people and implore them to follow tradition. But it is the law, and the law is that the highest vote getter doesn't necessarily become the mayor. So just keep that in mind, and if you can't be anything, just be kind. Thank you. And Mayor and Peter, thank you for your umpteen years of service.
My name is Ken Dalton. I live at 89 Brighton Road, Clifton. I'd like to congratulate all the people who won the election. And normally, you know, I'd be home and sitting in my living room, watching TV, falling asleep. My wife would be rattling me, you know, to wake up or stop snoring, you know. But the thing is that I felt so, this to come here tonight was so important. Because, you know, I haven't been at this podium in over 20 years. I retired from the fire department 19 years ago this month. And normally I'd be, like I said, I'd be home. But, you know, I felt I really had to come out because I see something happening that's not right. And the thing is like, you know, in the past, we always had the highest vote getter would be the mayor. And even though it's not written law, it's, you know, it's the unwritten law. It's accepted, past practice. Now, I don't know if that has any legal weight, but the thing is like, you know, Ray Kapowski got the most votes. And he should be the mayor, no doubt. And I think if there's any move to go over, not go along with that, I think, like I said to one person involved in this whole thing, they'll be tainted. This council will be tainted. You know, I remember this happening in 1966 when the late Bill Bate got the most votes. And there was outrage over it, and rightfully so, because he was a very good man. He would have been an excellent mayor. But the point was there were 6 Republicans, and he was the only Democrat, and they passed him over, and that wasn't right. And so we're supposed to be nonpartisan. This is supposed to be a nonpartisan body, but yet it is. You know, let's not fool ourselves. Partisanship is part of this whole thing. And I'm begging you to do the right thing. You know, I hope I don't have to come out again. You know, because I like to be retired and in my chair. You know, I know Mayor Anzali missed me all these years, but I'm back, Jimmy. The thing is, you know, I will be back because, you know, I'm not going to sit down and be quiet when something like this is going on in this city. You know, I've lived here all my life, except for a short time. I'm from one of the best neighborhoods originally in Clifton, with the Matt Ward, down on Hilton Street, great neighborhood, best in the city, back then anyway. And the thing is that, you know, I'm still here, and my wife she's here with the bail money. So, you know, I just like to leave with that. You know, do the right thing, follow tradition. Ray deserves to be the mayor. He got the most votes. The people have spoken. And I hope that you respect the will of the people. Thank you.
Okay, who's next?
Tammy Gebbia, 21 Walnut Street, third floor. Wonderful stairs if you'd like to come see me in that hallway. You look like you're walking into a slumlord. But I'm working on getting out of there. I hope to get out of there soon. When I heard about this going on, I'm born and raised in Clifton, 59 years. I didn't start voting. Actually, when I started voting was when the World Language Program came along. Do any of you remember that? And School 13 was the pilot program. I don't know if any of you remember that. I was not right. I ended up circulating a petition, and I went to several meetings, Board of Ed, State Board of Ed, in touch with the State Board of Ed. I went to meetings to talk there. Anyhow, but I don't usually watch the city council members or the meetings. I'm sorry, I'm nervous, so I'm stuttering. This is how I get. When I heard about this, it just broke my heart. It really did. Because to see what is going on in this town, the overcrowding, the streets, everything is like the mountain being knocked down. I remember that mountain. I climbed it. The overcrowding. I congratulate all of you. And you ran a good race. Who's ever sitting up there, I support. But we need to work together. We need to work together. How are we going to get things done if we can't put our heads together and we start lying and we start stabbing people in the back? It's not right. The right thing is that Ray got the most votes, and he should be mayor. And Billy, if you got the most votes, me and you go way back, right? Our boys, football, lacrosse, grew up. Our boys grew up together. I love you. I loved you. I loved being with you and Robin. You know, at all the games, we had a great time. That's the man that I really respected and adored. And now this. Please do the right thing, okay? Just do the right thing for yourself. I want you to look in the mirror every morning, and I want you to look in the mirror every night, okay? Can you really look at yourself in the mirror and say, I did the right thing? I don't think you can, because I don't think the integrity is there. I hope I'm wrong. And that's all I have to say, and good luck.
Okay, next.
Hi, good evening. I'm sorry to interrupt the flow on this very important debate, but I'm here for a different matter, and I won't take very long. And
Your name and address, please.
Oh, sorry, Melissa Groman, and I'm actually a Passaic resident, 37 Amsterdam. And I have to admit that I'm not someone who, unlike all of you, come to these meetings and show up and year in and year out do the hard work of running this city, although I do hear about your accomplishments. I'm here because about a month ago I was walking on Dwaz Line on a lovely Thursday morning around 9 a.m. as part of my usual walking route and around our community. And I heard behind me, I was walking northbound, and I heard behind me what seemed like some kind of car coming towards me. I was on the sidewalk, and I turned in time to see it heading straight towards me. And I moved to the side, and the car jumped the sidewalk, hit the curb, went up on the sidewalk, traveled on the sidewalk for a few minutes, went back down on the street, veered back around onto West Parkway, and sped off. And I was startled. And I thought, wow, good thing for that curb. I'm probably not the only one that this has happened to, but you know, it's hard to say what would have happened to me if that curb and that sidewalk hadn't been there. It does seem to me that I could have been killed, or at least seriously injured. We found out later that this was essentially the same spot where 20 years ago, Mrs. Maddie Malachi, who was a school teacher, was killed by an inattentive driver while walking her dog on a clear day. It occurred to my family and I that we should thank the City of Clifton and the Clifton City Council and the residents of Clifton for working to ensure the safety of the community residents who put in those sidewalks on that beautiful street. I've been in town for 32 years. I remember when there weren't any sidewalks on Dwaz Line. I remember that it was a beautiful street to walk on, and that I was scared, but I like to walk. So it brought to our attention that work and those sidewalks were the result of years of effort by many people who show up to have these discussions and these debates, and to do the planning and to look out for the good of not just your individual community members, but the community as a whole. And while that was something that I was not very deeply aware of peripherally, I'm deeply aware of it now. I also want to let you know that those sidewalks, which many of you probably already know, are used daily by a lot of people. They're dog walkers and runners and exercisers and the utility folks and the parents and children riding bicycles and the gardeners and the landscapers and on and on. They're used. I'm probably, again, not telling any of you anything you don't already know, but I felt like it was important to come tonight. I'm not sure what you say when you think that you're standing here because of the work that people have been doing all these years, that you don't necessarily see what the ripple effects of it are. I'm pretty sure that if there weren't sidewalks, I wouldn't really be standing here, at least not whole and healthy. So I just came to say thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Wagner. I live on 9 Sip Avenue, and I've been a Clifton resident since 2009. So unfortunately, there has to be a first time for everything, and today is my first time to speak to the council. First of all, I would like to congratulate all of you who actually got elected, and also happy retirement to Mr. Enzoldi. It was always a pleasure to see you by our St. John County Church, and the same thing to Mr. Iglar. You both were a wonderful addition to our town. Unfortunately, tonight I am here again, in response to this great debate, who is going to become the next mayor of our great city of Clifton. And I feel that today I am the voice of Polish community, which was very, very involved in the newest election, or the latest election. Polish community does understand that there is a law, and when we were voting, when we were utilizing our right to vote for our council, we were voting for the councilwoman or councilman. We were not voting for the mayor. However, historically, as many of my previous speakers mentioned, the individual who gets the most votes becomes the mayor, and that is Mr. Grabowski. And on the back of our mind, when we were voting, we were hoping that Mr. Grabowski will become our next mayor. So, yes, the law is very important, but we also believe that tradition is also very important, and we are hoping that the new council will honor this historical idea of actually electing the mayor who did pretty much achieve or did get the most votes. So yes, we are the people, we believe in democracy, and we also believed in the ideas and the concept which you were introducing to us for many months before the election. And many of you were talking about integrity, leadership, tradition, transparency, collaboration. That's what I was getting from you. Unfortunately, it's very heartbreaking when I'm reading posts on Facebook saying, for example, how Mr. Gibson is behaving, how is, for example, a new Mr. Latona kind of, I'm not going to use the word because Mr. Enzoldi is going to throw me out of the room, so I'm being politically correct. But unfortunately, I feel like, and myself being a professional, guiding 60 people in the hospital, if you don't, at this point of time, if you don't have integrity, if you don't have leadership, if you don't have transparency, I cannot even imagine how you are going to work together, and certainly it's not going to be easy to elect a new mayor, and probably we are also thinking that Mr. Grabowski might not necessarily become the next mayor, although we are hoping that you are going to do the right thing. Just to conclude, I don't want to have a big speech. Definitely, I would like to leave this room as soon as possible. But I'd like to ask you, just for the sake of the Polish community, who is actually calling me many, many times, yesterday, today, and probably within the next few days, I'd like to ask each one of you, and I do not want to wait at this point of time until January 8th and you vote. I'd like you to tell me tonight whom you are going to vote for. And if it's not Mr. Grabowski, then I'd like to know why. Because historically, by tradition, he should be the next mayor of the city. Thank you.
Next.
Name is Kevin Gorman, 651 Van Houten Ave, Clifton, New Jersey. I've been living in Clifton since 1975, and I've been involved with a lot of things in Clifton, as you know, with the Moose Lodge, the Athenia Vets, the Little Leagues, everything that is. And this town has always been together, working together. This prior council, to Mayor and Pete, congratulations on the great jobs you did all this year. Looking forward to the new council. As the mayor said in the past, the people need to work together. The people of Clifton voted their opinion by over 1,800 votes. And I think that should take consideration to every member on this new council and the old council. So that's all I'm saying. If Ray got the highest votes, I personally think, that's only my opinion, that he should be the council on the voting of the people of Clifton. Thank you.
Good evening. Gerard Scorziello, Pershing Road. For a moment, let's put emotion inside a box and deal with reality. The majority of Clifton voters believe and expect the high vote getter to be the mayor. This is not based on my opinion, but it's based on Clifton history over many decades. Most candidates and incumbents understand and have come to expect that the high vote getter will be the mayor. In fact, 4 years ago, one of the incumbents ran a campaign that was focused on being the #1 vote getter and therefore being selected as mayor. That campaign did not succeed. Although there have been recent discussions, a petition would be to change our form of government, that's something that would need to be voted on. Like it or not, Clifton elections have granted the top vote getter the mayorship every single year except for one, which was way back in 1966. And that was such a travesty that we're still speaking about it today. It's a fact that more Clifton people voted for Councilman Grabowski than any other candidate. I believe around 1,100 or 1,200 votes more than the second place vote getter. It is also a fact that getting more votes than the other candidate has always led to that person being chosen as the mayor. These are not emotional expectations, these are factual expectations. When the public loses confidence in the process, they also lose the respect of the participants. Hopefully, the incoming council can rebuild that confidence and publicly put emotions aside and honor the will of the voters. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matthew Trella, 33 Tansin Lane, Clifton. To Mayor Anzaldi and to Peter, congratulations on a job well done for your many, many, many years of sacrifice on the altar of public service. Trust in government and trust in government officials is the cornerstone of American democracy. What they say has to be steadfastly depended on, or we are left with complete chaos. Several months ago, Mr. Gibson and I sat down together. There was a judicial appointment. And he looked me in the eye and he said to me, I can't vote on this because I have children on the police force. And that would eliminate them from taking part in court sessions. And yet, he made some kind of deal, whatever it might have been, and all of a sudden, he's voting for somebody who is well qualified, nothing wrong with it. But don't talk out of one side of your mouth and speak out of another side of your mouth. That is political chicanery. Several years ago, members of the city council were asked the question, would you vote for the mayor for the person who got the highest vote? And one by one, except for Mr. Silva, who waffled a little bit, said yes, they would. Now they forget. The opportunity for the mayoral positions seems so politically lucrative, not financially, but politically lucrative, that they'll sell their souls to get their man in. They have insulted the Clifton electorate, who have come out in numbers astonishing and have voted Mr. Grabowski as the lead vote getter. They do this because they feel something's in it for me. Many years ago, there was a former president of the United States, Grover Cleveland. Not many of us knew him personally, but who said, "The ship of democracy, which has weathered many storms, may sink through the mutiny of those on board." Well, the alleged action by Mr. Gibson and his cohorts is nothing more than a mutiny. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Joseph Korbanik, 685 Manhattan Avenue. A councilman sitting at the dais spoke these words at the last meeting. I want to make a statement tonight that has bothered me a little bit. The word corrupt has come up quite often, and I firmly believe if anyone knows information about the corruption going on in this city and government, should speak directly to the Attorney General or the prosecutors in this city. If you don't, you're as guilty as the person doing the corruption. Enough said. The councilman used his position of trust for a dishonest gain, believing he has the right to another election by the vote of his council colleagues, not following Clifton's past tradition of giving the mayor's office to the highest votes received by the citizens in the election, which has been a tradition for over 50 years. Oh, by the way, in 2018, Councilman Gibson supported the citizens' high vote procedure. Councilman, you only received 8,181 votes to attain the second place in the race. Now, after the votes have been tallied, you don't want to practice the precedent system of voting to exist and have a new system you want given, a second chance to be elected mayor. The new system will possibly give the council the opportunity to elect you as mayor. Councilman Grabowski won. He received 9,401 votes. Mr. Gibson, you lost by 1,221 votes. The second election is just a moot issue. The 90,000 citizens were never presented with this new idea for voting for the council and having the council vote for the mayor, nor was it put on the ballot. Councilman Gibson, you would be proposing having an election that has already taken place. An election can be done by elected officials next election after adequate notice to the voters has been given, but not now after the traditional election has taken place. Councilman Gibson, it is time to show if you are a man of your word or a man who just speaks words. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? Oh, I see some movement.
Good evening. My name is Helen Kubik, 51 Gilly Street, Clifton. I've been in the city for 77 years, born in a house in Clifton. I just want to throw that in. I'm here tonight after reading the article in the Herald News/Record about the council election. If new rules were not set, and they weren't, then the council should honor the procedure that has been in place for years. That procedure is whomever gets the most votes should be the next mayor. It is sad to realize that some council people are sore losers. Parents teach their children not to be that way. I hope the council will do the right thing and name Ray Grabowski our mayor. The council does answer to the people of Clifton eventually. So do the right thing. Also, I'd like to thank the council. I'd like to thank the mayor and Peter Eagler for all their service, and I hope they keep one foot in the door and don't leave us. And thank you to the old council and the new ones as well. But please do the right thing, because it's very obvious what the right thing is. Thank you.
Next.
Rosemary Trinkle Barron, Englewood Road. I haven't been to this podium in 10 years. First, I want to wish Councilman Eagler well and thank you for all of your service. Particularly thank you for always taking such good care of my aunt and uncle and making sure my aunt lived to see you bless the sign that she donated. And Mayor, you are my grandmother's favorite student, and I appreciate how you've always talked to me about her and kept her tradition together. And I certainly do congratulate all of the newly elected council persons. So strangely enough, as I was learning news and was deciding if I was coming here, I found in my grandmother's things the original article of 1966, where there was a large group of people, and I guess if we took a picture today, it would be the same. My first topic then is, who's going to be the mayor? I'm very familiar with the form of government in Clifton. I think my grandparents started teaching me about it at age 10. I'm fifth generation of a family that I am now raising the sixth. It has been a tradition in this city that the highest vote getter became the mayor. This isn't personal for me. The first and second vote givers are friends of mine, and it hurts me to even have to come up here, but I have to do what's right because you don't mess with Clifton traditions. In our form of government, the mayor is rarely a ceremonial position. They appoint certain boards. They run the council meeting. The power is not the same as in other cities. And so I think that for this year, we've never had to think about this before. The mayor's been here since 1968 or someone else. We've never had to think about it, and here we are. And while we want change, we don't always make change, but yet it's still the tradition that people probably went to and voted in that way. And so for me, it's important that we continue that tradition, because otherwise unity is lost, trust is lost, and it's not the best start for this council that I have such hopes for, the 2023 council. And then my third, and so for me the question is why? The third topic for me, though, is that there's also this discussion about a change of government. And while I haven't learned or spoken to the organizers about that yet, I want the citizens of Clifton to stop and pause. A lot of great questions asked by one of the council women during the election time about this form of government that made me stop and pause. And I think it's important that as citizens that we dream big and we find out what's the best thing for Clifton. Because on the League of Municipalities website, you can find out that there's 12 forms of government. 5 of them won't work for us, and only 6 can. And I'd love to know more about the pros and the cons of those before we start getting petitions because of what's going on currently in this state today, in the city today. So I ask us, because that's what I'd like to do, and of course, the organizers will get to that, I'm quite sure, but I think that that's important. The final decision, as I know, rests with the council, because that's what the law says. I know what our traditions are. I know the Clifton that I know and I believe in, and this isn't personal for me. This is just that this is a tradition that should be followed, and I guess that, in a way, maybe it is really important, or all of the people wouldn't be here today. And for me, at the end of the day, that no matter what happens, the council has to work together, and the citizens have to go through a process of healing. But I'm just not sure how we got here. So I look forward to hearing that the top vote getter will become the mayor. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Whitmire, Van Houten Ave in Clifton, and I am the proud sister of Councilman Ray Grabowski. The will of the people. Congratulations to all on their win, and especially to my brother, Councilman Ray Grabowski, on his overwhelmingly win, the highest vote getter. The people spoke at the polls and voted overwhelmingly for Ray to be the next mayor. We all know that the new council has to vote on appointing the new mayor. But I'm disappointed to learn that the time-honored protocols for appointing the mayor are potentially being ignored and dismissed without the approval of the citizens of Clifton. Mr. Gibson wants to be mayor and is looking for some council members to vote him in. The precedent is set, though. If we, the Clifton electorate, wish to change the protocols, we should have an open and honest discussion about changing the way the mayor is appointed, and do so prior to an election year cycle to ensure transparency and an understanding that a new process has been decided, not after the people have voted with the understanding that the high vote is elected as mayor. I believe that Mr. Gibson knows this tradition because he has been stated on record supporting the current process. In 2018, when the council was asked the question if they agreed that the top vote getter gets to be mayor, he agreed. I would hope that Mr. Gibson honors this protocol and not contest the voters' decision. I'm sure if any other council member received the high vote, my brother would certainly honor the people's decision and not contest the appointment of mayor. And I'm sure they would want to be appointed mayor and not having that taken away from them. All of the candidates ran on a platform of unity, working together, etc. Some even advertised love, love, love. This is definitely not the case. Do you think the people who voted for Ray Grabowski will approve this decision? Do you think they will be able to trust you? I wouldn't. The people of Clifton need to trust the integrity of the council. How it breaks my heart to see that you are ruining a person's joy in getting elected to mayor. He, his family, and many, many friends and supporters worked so hard to achieve this goal of becoming mayor. You are stealing this from him if you change the rules and allow these unfair practices. Instead of being happy for your colleague, you want to destroy him. Do the right thing, Mr. Gibson. Be an honorable person and adhere to the people's wishes. What a sad day for Clifton if you do not. The last point I'd like to address is social media. I've never seen such hatred. Even though social media plays an important role in our daily lives, communicating and sharing opinions, petty nastiness, vindictiveness, and gossip should not sway public opinion. Show the residents that we have an honorable council who want to work together for the good of the city. I'll leave you with this thought. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Enough said. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone else wish to speak?
What's up? It's Fred Barnes from Dingoes, 615 Van Houten Ave. Really, you know, it's tough to say anything now because, you know, going last, there's not much else to say. Everybody's pretty much said it. But I just want to say, you know, the people of Clifton put everybody up there because we trust you and, you know, we want you to do the right thing by us, the people. And if you guys aren't together, then you're not going to be doing the right thing by the people and the city of Clifton. And we want you all to get along. Maybe it just needs something if you go in the side room over there together and just talk it out, whatever you guys need to do. But we as a community need you together, because I hear it down at Dingoes. People have been talking to me the last few days about it. They've been talking, you know, just saying different things. And it's just basically, you're there for us. And we need you to be together, because you're never going to get anything accomplished if you guys are divided. And if you guys are divided, how do you expect the people of the community to be together? All right? We need you to be together. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christina Bladek. I live in Clifton since 1976. Before I lived 53 LaSalle, now 104 Alfred Street. I am also owner of Christina Travel and Services on Van Houten Avenue. I would like to congratulate all elected councilwomen and councilmen. I want to thank you, Mayor, since I always remember Mayor Anzaldi. I don't remember any other mayor. So thank you for that. And I want to thank so much to Councilman Peter Igler. He's my dear friend. Councilman was, I don't remember, 1997, a marshal for Passaic, Clifton, and vicinity on the Pulaski Day Parade. He was also a grand marshal in 2002 of the entire Pulaski Parade in New York City. And he was always serving good. He was so good councilman. Sometimes so many people ask him, why don't you become a mayor? He said, Christina, tradition, it's a tradition. I cannot break the tradition, period. So that's what I'm saying. I'm listening to Peter Igler, Councilman Peter Igler. I am going for the tradition. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
I'm sorry, I just forgot to say one thing. I just wanted to thank
no,
you.
Against the rules.
Okay, all right. I
I don't want to break the rules, Freddie. You're my friend, but I don't want to break the rules. Next.
Hi, John Trayer. Unfortunately, I now no longer live in Clifton. I live on 22 Geneva Court in Wayne. And before I get started, it's so great to see Councilman Peter Igler here. I think we should give him a... And it's hard to believe that Mayor Anzaldi will no longer be the mayor after all these years. The three of us, Jim Anzaldi, Peter Igler, and myself, have been together working in the political realm most of our lives. And we've always worked together, and God knows we've disagreed. But at the end of the day, I think we really respected the will of the voters, the will of God, and making sure that we did the best things possible for the city of Clifton. Having said that, I'm disappointed beyond belief at all the rumor and all the things that are going on. It's just wrong. We have stood by in this city since 1934, and with the exception of one time, the highest vote getter became mayor. And from that point on, the one time it didn't happen, you know, you look up at the records and see what happened to the folks who did not vote for the high vote getter. Most of them were not on the council in 1970, 4 years later. People have expectations, and political tradition is very important. And when it's broken, there's a real schism that happens in our community. We always, when we've had a change of presidents, the outgoing president was always there to welcome the incoming president. That tradition was broken this time, and that's a real shame, because it showed a level of bipartisanship and Americanism. When you get sworn in, it's America's day. I think we need to look deep down into our hearts, and we need to do the right thing here. This isn't about personalities and who I like and who I dislike. This is not about who we feel is going to be the best mayor, because the people made that decision for us. So I'm hoping all of you look deep down into your hearts. I have a lot of respect for all of you. And what I think you need to do is figure out how to do the right thing and how to work together for the citizens of this city. The people deserve it. Thank you.
Hello, Jacqueline Mestry, Valley Road. I wanted to just step up here because the spotlight is on Mr. Gibson. And I cannot believe for one moment, with all the years here and everything you've accomplished, that you being the target of exposing what has been conspired by some of the members of the council, I can't believe it's worth that shame. I can't believe it's worth that. It must not feel good. But what we should all keep in mind is that Mr. Gibson would not be able to be appointed were it not for 3 other votes. 3 other votes by 3 other people that would have to vote for him in order to have majority. And many of us know who those other 3 people are, if they were the 3. And if you don't know, just ask some people who they are, because it is about trust. It is about divisiveness. It is about deceitfulness. And it is not about what is the best thing for Clifton. So keep that in mind, who the other 3 people are that would be responsible, because they also should be subject to the same shame and then the same accusations, the same scrutiny, because their integrity is also on the line. Thank you.
Hi, David Gross of West Parkway, and tonight I'm just really here to thank the council for many, many years of pushing back and trying to uphold the ordinances of the city. I've been the proponent for getting sidewalks where sidewalks weren't. Other people have said, well, we have other streets without sidewalks. The ordinance requires sidewalks everywhere. I certainly encourage the future council to install sidewalks everywhere. But what we learned tonight, and to the great credit of previous council, going back to Gloria Kaloji and Joe Kaloji now coming back onto the council, Peter Igler, who has been an advocate for safety, Mr. Gibson, who's been a tremendous advocate for safety, Mr. Grabowski, or may I dare say Mayor-elect Grabowski, who's really been very supportive throughout, the mayor, Jimmy Anzaldi, who I wish a wonderful round of golf anytime you'd like once you retire, and Lauren Murphy, who has stepped up, as well as Rosemary Pino, recognizing how many children are now in the area walking to school. And by putting in those sidewalks on Dwaz Line, it has really created a new life. And you heard earlier tonight from Mrs. Groman, who called me up and said she thought she was targeted by a car aiming for her. And there are cameras at people's houses along Dwaz Line, and I went to my camera system, and I saw the whole thing. I'm willing to share with anybody who'd like to see that video. She wasn't targeted. There was a car traveling towards Brook Avenue, and the road actually is cut out in front of some houses. And that last strip doesn't have sidewalks in it. And this council has voted after coming out and seeing the problem that that road needs to be straightened and sidewalks filled in. Guess what? That's where this woman was almost killed, because this car veered over because the roadway is not straight, and actually veered over, and a car coming the other way alerted them, hey, we're going to have a head-on crash. So the car quickly yanked the steering wheel, and that's when the car jumped the sidewalk, jumped the curb, but it slowed it down. You see the car get banged around and just misses her and drives off. Doesn't stop to apologize, just drives off. But those sidewalks that you guys put in saved her life. It wasn't there 15 years ago when we lost one life in Mrs. Malachi, but it was there now. And there's this other piece. As soon as it gets finished, it was supposed to start, but because of rain, hopefully it gets started later this week. Because of that, because of your wisdom, because of your integrity of standing up to those people who felt it's not important, you saved another life. And I want to thank you all for doing that. I thank you on behalf of all the kids and all the citizens of Clifton for keeping blood off of somebody's hand. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Lynn Zaire, Anderson Drive, Clifton. So many of us are here tonight to discuss the plan of Tony Latona, Rosemary Pino, and Bill Gibson, and one other council member to not nominate Ray Grabowski for mayor, even though he received high vote in the election. When I heard the news, I was immediately sickened. This is wrong on so many levels. What's really disturbing is that 3 or 4 members show no remorse or shame and are justifying their bad behavior under the guise of, it's all legal, or it's just business. Admittedly, it is legal to nominate someone else as mayor, but is it morally right? No. Currently, we all voted with the understanding that the high vote receiver would be mayor. Did Bill Gibson receive high vote in 2018? No. The town did not want you as mayor. In 2022, did Bill Gibson receive high vote? No. The town did not want you as mayor. None of you received high vote. The town does not want any of you as mayor. Only Ray Grabowski received high vote. The town wants him as mayor. 2 or 3 of you devised this plan and then convinced Bill to betray his friend and colleague and publicly humiliate him. Your plan was to come to the official meeting in January and humiliate Ray by nominating Bill as mayor. A well-timed plan to cause the most hurt and pain. How many of you think it's acceptable to hurt a friend and colleague with deliberate and malice intent? Just because you can, business as usual. How many of you think it's acceptable to humiliate a friend and colleague in front of everyone he knows? Just because you can, business as usual. How many of you believe it's acceptable to refuse the nomination to the high vote receiver, the man who actually earned it, Ray Grabowski? Just because you can. Most people would say no. I don't think it's morally right. It's downright hurtful, malicious, and cruel. But this is what these 3 or 4 council members are. In their minds, they have justified their bad behavior. Of course it's legal, and because they can, and because it's just business. Several years ago, there was another group of people, similar to this group, but this group was a group of 12 people plus their leader. This group came together for the good of the people. Also, like this group of 12 disagreed, and they had their arguments, but came together in the end. As time went on, one member was very jealous of the other member. It doesn't matter the reasons, really. What matters is that one member turned on the other. I think some of you may even know the turncoat's name. His name was Judas. Judas turned on his fellow member, similarly to what is happening here. It was all legal then. He did it because he could, and because it was just business. But who will wear the Judas coat here? Is it going to be Tony wearing the Judas cape? Will it be Bill? Will it be Rosemary? Will it be another council member? Please do not continue down this path. This is not who we are as Cliftonites. Instead of the city that cares, this new council Their new motto will be Clifton, the city that will hurt, humiliate, and take away what you have earned just because they can. Business as usual. Thank you.
Okay, who's next?
Maria Kosmiter, 82 Sycamore Road, Clifton, New Jersey. I have a speech, but I'm not going to read everything because everybody said everything I was going to say. The only thing is that the people of Clifton elected Greg Grabowski. I'm Polish and I can't even say his name. 9,401 votes. People's choice. He was their choice. He was my choice, although I voted for quite a few. And so I'm going to congratulate everybody. So by not giving Ray those 900 and the mayor position, you are telling us that we don't matter, our vote doesn't matter. So what are we supposed to do from this point on? So I'm asking you to confirm his mayorship, and your turn will come, and everybody else's term will come when it's the time. But today, it's for Roy. Our votes matter. We have to matter. We made a choice. That choice has to stay. And I come from a country that has communism, so I have a lot of respect for choice. So please, do the right thing. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you. And Mayor Anzaldi, congratulations. You were fabulous. I loved working with you on the Centennial. Peter, great friend. Going to miss you. But I'll see you around in town. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, who's next?
Good evening, everyone. Kim Ladiano, 5 Charles Court, Clifton. Everybody has pretty much said everything I wanted to say, but I just do want to say that the people have voted. That was our voice. For Ray to get as many votes as he did, it's because the people in Clifton trust him. They want him to be the mayor. We want the council to be our voice and to hear us and to respect what we voted for. Ray Grabowski should be mayor, and that's all I have to say, period. Thank you.
Joe Hosley. I think I'm at the wrong meeting. Nice to see you, Mr. Igler. You remember who I am, right? Anyway, there was a rumor going around.
Joe, we need just the address, Joe.
Pardon me?
Your address.
75 Mountainside Terrace.
75, okay.
There was a rumor going around that time. Every meeting I attended, the mayor went home with a headache. Is that true? All right, I'm not here. I'm here for one reason. The flooding. The flooding on Woodland and Park, and Grove, rather. Mayor, what are we going to do about that? I believe it started with the building of Bond Hall on Valley Road. Now, the future hotel that's going to go up there next to the Valley Regency is going to make it worse. It seems like there's no end to the building in Clifton. The condos on Adams Terrace flooded the street. They flooded the Pearl Perk. It's like no end. And what do? You keep on building on a mountain. You put 60 condos on Valley Road adjacent to Route 46 eastbound. That thing runs right into Valley Road. Then you have the Four Seasons project on Valley Road causing more flooding. Then you have the Chelsea Retirement Assisted Living Facility was built in violation of the steep slope, but that's causing more flooding. And then you got the future 25 condos going up to the Greek church also going to cause more flooding. When are we going to learn to stop developing every inch of Garrett Mountain and stop the flooding? I'm going to stay here till the end of this. I guess you're going to have another 10 people coming up here. I want to know when you're going to stop it and when you're going to dredge the creek. There's trees growing inside the creek. All kinds of stones are in there. You got to do something to reduce the flooding. Thank you.
Have to do this to just write my name. Hi, Joanne Macbeth, 11 Wheeler, and like a couple other people, I haven't spoken at the podium in a while. But it's important tonight that you all know how many of us feel the same way. And I'm not going to address the other council people or incoming council people who started this whole thing. But I'm going to address you, Mr. Gibson, because you get to speak when we stop. And I'm going to paraphrase your own words that you said that if somebody's going to nominate me, I'm going to take it. Well, you also have the option of shutting this down right here tonight by telling us that you're not going to accept the nomination. Thank you.
Okay, next. Anyone else?
My name is Matt Ward, 1 Sewell Ave. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm just going to repeat what's been said. The words, do the right thing. Just keep that in mind. I can tell you that there are certain votes that you take as an office holder, having been one, that you are defined by that vote. This is one of those votes for you folks. I want to share with you something that took place in 1966 for a 9-year-old, which was me. My parents experienced what happened to Bill Bate. To say that my father and mother were upset by it would be a gross understatement. My father worked the second shift at Curtis Wright, and he made it a point to be off that night to go down to the old City Hall on Harding Ave. As a 9-year-old, I was clueless. You could not get into that building because people were so upset. I cannot begin to tell you the anger that my father carried for many, many years after that situation took place. Let me fast track 40 years later, 2006, on a personal level. I finished in 8th place, 75 or 80 votes short of getting on council. It's a tough thing when you lose by a tight margin. Tony Latona, who was on council, was asked who would he support for the 8th place person when he had to leave council. He said Matt Ward. He finished 8th. He deserves to be there. It's the right thing to do. Our mayor, Jim Anzaldi, was the deciding vote on whether I would come to council or not. And I remember that night vividly. It came to Jim, and Jim stated it very clearly to the citizens of Clifton. I've taken a position. It doesn't matter whether I agree or disagree with Mr. Ward on many issues, but I have taken a set promise to support the 8th place person. He did that. It was the right thing to do. Trust, folks, is a very fragile thing. If you lose that, you lose credibility. You lose the legitimacy and the favor of the people who depend on you. That's the citizens of Clifton, the 90,000 people who are here. Let me just say this. If we are going to change how we select the mayor, let's have that discussion, but let's not change how we have done it in the middle of the night, changing it at the last second. Let's not do that. I was on council. I suggested even at the time, and it was supported by Mr. Capoli when he was with me, not many other people on council, that we need to look at our form of government. We need to elect the mayor straight up so this particular situation cannot happen again. In my opinion, we need staggered terms for council people. We need to have at-large and district representation in Clifton so everybody has an opportunity at sitting where you sit now. I know how difficult these issues are, but I will tell you, when I was on council in 2010, when I had the opportunity to vote on who would be the next mayor, there wasn't a doubt that Mayor Anzaldi was going to get my vote. It wasn't out of a favor. It was out of the rich traditions that we're talking about as a city. I'm just going to say this to you. If you lose the trust, that's what you really have to always measure at all times. You're forever going to be marked by certain votes that you take. There's not many of them in a council term that you will have. This happens to be one of them. I would urge anybody who's on council right now to think long and hard about what you want to achieve for the next 4 years. I think everybody wants to see you folks succeed. It's in our best interest that you do. But mark my words, the tradition of Clifton and who sits in the mayor's chair is a part of the fabric of trust that we as a citizenry depend upon each and all the times that we're here in this city. I know you value that, but this is where it's going to be marked in stone. This is no more a talking point. It's an action item, and you need to follow through on what took place. I remember vividly what happened to Bill Bate. I remember what happened to me when I was the 8th place person. People did the right thing for the right reasons. I urge you to do the same. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? Anyone else wish to speak?
How are you? Judith Bassford, 92 Mountain View Drive, Clifton. First, a couple of things I have to talk about. First, these are my personal views and opinions. I do not represent any board or anything. I'm going to come here tonight as a citizen. The signage on Gillies and Valley Road. Election day, I actually stood at the poll the whole day, and I watched 15, I counted them, 15 cars going up the wrong way because the signage on the other side of the street is faded and in bad shape. There's no signage on the road that says do not enter. There's nothing. One way, do not enter. I brought this up last year during the election, and I was promised that it would be taken care of. Fast forward a year later, it's still the same way. That's a neighborhood where there's a lot of children congregate in that area. It's a busy road. One accident, the other gentleman talked about sidewalks. The people were coming up that road, turning around, U-turns. It was crazy. 15 cars I counted all day. And I was there. What happens the other day when nobody's there to witness it? Okay, second thing. November 6th, Passaic Valley Water Company came to my house to take a sample, which I thought was being tested. Found that they only took the sample to look at the color on a day that it was clean. Took me a month to find out that there was no testing of the water. 9 cases of 6 bottles each of Poland Spring are delivered to my house. The guy that came told me they're going to give me a credit. They're going to do something to adjust my bill. I was told by the girl that called me on Friday, that's not going to happen. We don't do that. So somebody better worry about, I know you're putting sidewalks in Passaic. You're spending all that money in another city. Please get the pipes fixed in Mountain View Drive. It's been going on. My son is 27. I could tell you for 28 years we've been experiencing it. Disgusting. Not happy with it. I pay the water bill every month when it comes. I pay your sewer bill, and I pay the water that comes in my house. So I'm being triple taxed. Not good. Not fair. Do something about it. Congratulations to all the winners, and I'm sorry to all the losers. I backed some people that didn't win, and I backed some people that did. I'm looking at 7 people for hope in 2023. Okay, so that was those things. Let me see what else I have here to talk about. I want to address the situation that happened on November 1st. I have many weeks to think about it. I couldn't come to the last council meeting because I had a meeting I couldn't get to. And I want to talk about the word bystander. That's a person who is present at an event or an incident that does not take part, such as watching someone commit arson or getting attacked in a park, or somebody that stole from the taxpayers and endangered the lives of students. By not doing anything, you are a bystander. What happened here on November 1st, I was very disappointed that nobody spoke out. I know you can't talk about an employee, but nobody said nothing against it. November 2nd, Mary, how many people called you? I know I did. I sat with Carol while she shivered and shook. Knowing her situation, you had a choice to speak up and say that wasn't right. Let's forward to December 2022. I speak to Mary all the time because I understand what she goes through on my side of the fence. I understand it all so well. Never once in the times that this election occurred to now, she has ever said whose side of the fence, Team Gibson or Team Grabowski. She has never said a word. So whoever's claiming the fourth person, you're wrong. She will make the decision the day she has to make that decision. And she's going to do her homework on who is the best choice as mayor for this community. I'm not done. Point of order, I'm speaking. Thank you. Okay. So Karma, sometimes she's an ugly, whatever the word you want to use, but she's ever. I want to know what happened to that employee that got up here and spoke about another employee. Were they reprimanded? Were they actually taken to task on what they did here at this dais? Because as I looked at it, you guys are all council people and you are all employees of this district. Where was Mary Sagicula's due process right for an investigation on what was being said at this mic? It was nowhere. And that's appalling and disgusting. Am I done? Okay. So good luck. God bless you. And I hope the 7 of you who are appointed and elected to this board makes the right decision going forward. Because there's no team that. There's one mayor,
Okay,
and we
you
need
have
to
to finish
have
up,
a
you
mayor
finish
that
up.
leads us to the future. Thank you.
Okay. Next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Kaloje. I live on McCosh Road in Clifton. I'm going to answer Councilman Capoli, who said, who wouldn't? And the way I was raised by Gloria and Joe Kaloje, and I've been in the position where I've been nominated for something that I didn't earn. And the response is, thank you for your confidence, but I respectfully decline. But maybe that's just a different upbringing than Councilman Capoli. Our job, I see, on January 3rd is that essentially we are no different than delegates of the Electoral College. And if you think back to the early 90s, when Bill Clinton was running against George Bush and Ross Perot threw his hat in, and you had a candidate from the Green Party, and you had a candidate from the Socialist Party, and who knows how many other people were on the ballot for president that year. But ultimately, at the end of the election, there was one person at the top, and the expectation of the public was that they would go down to Washington and vote for the person who had the most votes. I see our job on January 3rd is the same. That on January 3rd, we will select a mayor, and it is the expectation of the people that we will select the person who finished with the most votes. So I guess I'll get the ball rolling tonight and say, on January 3rd, I will vote for Ray Grabowski to serve as mayor for the next 4 years. And to continue with some of the things that were said from Councilman Ward, I would also, in the event of a vacancy during the next 4 years, support the 8th place finisher, which would be Chris D'Amato, to serve until we can have a special election to fill that vacancy. That, I believe, is my duty and my obligation that was given to me by the people when they put me in office on January 3rd. I would hope that my colleagues would share that opinion. Thank you.
Anyone next?
Antonio Tona, 29 Samuel Ave. I'm going to jump around a little bit here, ladies and gentlemen. First off, to get onto this subject before I get onto the comments made by my neighbor on SIP Ave by Jim Inzaldi. This reorganization meeting is until January 3rd, so the election just happened. For the record, I've never even spoken to Ray. He's never called. He's never asked for my support. My vote for the next mayor that I'm going to choose is going to come. I want to know what their vision of the city is. I want to know their vision of their next planning board, because the next mayor is going to guide that master plan, which hasn't been updated in 40 years, that has caused so many of the problems in this town for a long time on the quality of life issues, and that's what I ran on. It's going to determine the future if we continue to high-density housing, high-density commercial real estate, the brown water, the flooding, the traffic, the infrastructure failures, et cetera. It's my understanding committee appointments were being made in City Hall without even the knowledge, at least as me as a council member. So I don't know if that's true, Mr. Grabowski. I hope it's not. But I have to say, as someone who wants to be a leader, no matter who you are, you should talk to your future council members' teammates, and those decisions should be made by all of us together. So I want to, now at the next meeting, sit down with Bill, Ray, or anyone else who wants to be considered to be the next mayor and leader of the city. I want to know their vision. I want to know the master plan. I want to know who they're going to appoint to the planning board. Is it going to be the same old planning board where nothing's going to change, and 4 years from now we're going to have more high-density housing, more commercial real estate, and more residents affected by it, or not? That's where I am. That's where I'm going to base my vote on. It's not just about traditions, but it's about solutions. I hear about traditions. You know, I mean, the mayor's been the mayor for 32 years. I hear that all the time. The mayor appoints the planning board for 32 years. He can correct me if I'm wrong. For people who want to say continue on traditions, but as far as I know, for a town that we speak about how diverse the city of Clifton is, I don't know of a minority appointed by the planning board by the mayor in 32 years. So when people talk about traditions, is that another tradition? Clifton is diverse as city as diverse as Clifton wants to continue 32 more years without appointing a board that is diverse and it represents our city. Now, I was going to get into this tonight, but since my neighbor here on Spear Ave spoke up, I'm going to address it tonight. And some people may not like the words I'm about to say. About the mayor's behind-the-scenes comments about me speaks volumes. This isn't anything new. Jim Inzaldi, you are no gentleman. You're a bully. The lies, yeah, you all can say, oh, because my story's going to be told, okay? Your lies, your attacks on me by you, the interference of the 1923 city manager form of government, since I ran for 2006 for office, you have interfered and attacked my employment. You attacked my firefighter position. You attacked my income. You attacked my military service, affecting my family life, my personal health, and my livelihood. You and your good old boys even stooped so low this past year to interfere with the election by sabotaging my job, by sabotaging my retirement to try to delay me to retire till after Election Day. It affected my pension, and when that failed and I was able to retire before you and your malfeasance and friends were able to do that, you then attacked my pension to keep me from having an income, to keep me from being able to campaign, to feed my family, to take care of my bedridden mother. You have no shame. My story will be told, Mr. Jim Inzaldi, and you will answer for your sins. Have a good night.
He's right. Henry Chelezinski, Phyllis Place. I'm not going to say anything about who's clawing their way to the top, who wants to be mayor. What I am going to talk about for a few minutes is the amount of people here in the council chambers. I've sat in these chambers when there were as few as 10 people sitting here. It was a rush to get off the dais by 9 o'clock. Apathy is like a cancer. If we had a full house here every time there was a council meeting, if people were having their thoughts, their wishes, their hopes and dreams for the city, we wouldn't be sitting here tonight having this grand discussion. The apathy in a city of 90,000 people, to have 10 people sitting here to express their opinion to their elected council is a shame. And in some ways, it's a disgrace. We should have a crowd like this every time there is a council meeting. You need to know positively what the constituents want. You can't know it when 10 people are sitting here, because then it's the one who's in favor that's getting a public works project in Passaic that's getting this favor. I can't even get a line painted on Bridewell Place at the bridge coming from Mad River. I've been after this. I've been after the mayor for 3 years. They just keep saying, well, we sent a letter. Well, send a letter with a bucket of paint. Sidewalks on Allwood Place. Like Mr. Gross said, we need them. There's 5 houses on Allwood Place that should have had sidewalks, but somebody's department wasn't watching the store. Now, try getting them. You're always telling me that we've sent letters. Well, I'm going to do another Oprah request, and I want to see the letters. The apathy in this town is going to be the death of this town. Start filling these seats, dear taxpayers. Start coming out. Start taking an interest in the people you're paying, the people you elected, and come out here and have your voice heard. I shouldn't be the only one of 10 people sitting here in these seats rolling my eyes. And we shouldn't have a mayor that spends all his time on his cell phone texting people and reading stuff. Pay attention to the constituents. Thank you very much.
Ray Lill, 59 Stevens Road. Jim and Peter, I want to thank you for everything you've done for us. I don't know how we got to this point tonight, but, you know, Ray, he was the highest vote getter. I would have assumed that everybody would have sat down. I know Ray wanted to sit down and talk to people, get together, and I would have assumed everybody sat down and got together and had a council meeting and said, this is what we're going to do. I don't know whether this is just a rumor that's been started. I've heard names mentioned of people who are involved in this. Is this really true? I have no idea. I think this could be just something that is started and just mounted into a nightmare. But I think it's a shame, and if this is the way the council's going to go, we're going to be no better off than we were in the last 4 years. Now, Tony Latona, if this is true, this guy hasn't been paid in 7 months, that's disgusting. And if you people on the city council can sit there and tell me you didn't know it, that's a shame. That's a shame. How could you sit there and do that and let a guy not get paid? And if you're going to keep this up, we're going to come after you, and we're going to get you. We're going to make sure we get you. Every one of you, we're getting, because that's bullshit. I'm telling you straight out. That guy's a city employee. He's with the government. He works on the aircraft and everything, takes care of his mother. To treat a guy like that, you're not worthy of working here. I'm telling you. Disgusting. And I don't care who likes me. Long as my family loves me, that's all I care about. You can all go take a crap.
Anyone else? No one else?
Mayor, if no one should be heard, I move the public portion be closed.
Second.
Okay, there's some questions that were asked. Mr. Villano, Gillies and Valley signage, did you make note of that? Okay. The line on Bridewell. You have that? Okay. Oh, Mr. Villano, can you give an update? Mr. Holsey asked about the Woodlawn and Grove, of where we are, because I don't, maybe he didn't hear it at the meetings.
Mayor, we awarded a contract to Nigerian to do the feasibility study. And I will determine what's the next step, what the DP will allow the city to do.
Okay. How about that Mountain View, the update on the pipe? Did we get anything back from Passaic Valley on that?
I don't understand the question, Mayor.
You know, the changing the water pipes on Mountain View, that was one of the priorities. I thought that they were going to try to get an answer from Passaic Valley Water Commission.
No,
They seem to be-
what I said was, or when they were here, they indicated that that area needs, the pipes need to be cleaned or they need to be replaced. That is a function of the Passaic Valley Water. The city has no jurisdiction over that.
But have they given any update since that meeting?
I'm sorry?
Have they given any update since that meeting? I guess that's what they're asking.
Not as far as replacing the
Oh,
pipe,
okay.
Mayor.
Okay, I think that is all the questions, okay? Everyone else is mostly personal to each council person, including me. Okay, I think, Bill, you're first tonight, right? I think, Peter, what? Well, Peter was first last time, so you're first.
If you look at the minutes, Councilwoman Sadrikova spoke first at the last meeting, so I begin tonight. I do read the minutes. Okay. First and foremost, today is St. Nicholas Day, which traditionally is a day that was celebrated here in Clifton from our Dutch ancestry, but it's a day that's celebrated by many of our communities here in town. St. Nicholas, I like I used to say, was Santa Claus's father. So as my tradition always is, I have a bag of tulips for the city manager. To plant, Mayor, your day to water is Tuesdays, my day to water is Thursdays when they grow up, when they come up. So we'll give that to the city manager after the meeting. I was happy that evening that Father Andrei was here from St. Nicholas's Ukrainian Catholic Church. Today is their feast day, so Nohaya Iblahaya Lita, many happy, healthy, and blessed years. The question to you, Mayor, to the city manager.
Go ahead.
I understand that the boiler went out in the main library. Is that being fixed, and does he know when that will be done, and if we can get an update for the next council meeting? Thank you. Thank you to our DPW and to all the city employees who decorated the City Hall grounds for the annual tree lighting and for the tree lightings in Botany Village in Lakeview. And in the Athene to Veterans one was postponed because of the tree light, because of the rain. I hope that, I don't know if that's going to be rescheduled, but maybe Councilman Grabowski can address that issue. Please remember to, the Health Department is still giving out flu shots and your booster shots for COVID. So if you didn't get yours and you want to get one, you can call the Health Department and they'll tell you what days to come in. To the members of the Jewish community, I'd like to wish them a happy Hanukkah, which begins on December the 18th, which will be the day before our next council meeting. The issue that has been raised tonight by most of our speakers, I want to thank you all for coming, for taking time out of your busy schedules, and I think it's a travesty, a real travesty that everybody at this time of the year has to give up their evening to come here and fight for Ray Grabowski to be named the next mayor. It's not right. Legally, you can do it. You can name it. The council can vote for whoever they want. However, it only was tried once. In 88 years of this form of government, it only happened once because it left such a bad taste in the voters' mouth, because it looked like a big political deal. It looked like a political deal in '66, and it doesn't look right now. But I'm waiting. Right now, it doesn't look right. I'm waiting to hear from my council colleagues, because everything was on Facebook, and I thought, you cannot run city government by Facebook. You have to talk to people. You have to interact with people. That's how you get things done. This Facebook stuff, this one said this, and I heard from this one, I heard from this one. That's not the way to go. People have to be politically mature enough and put on their big boy pants and big girl pants and accept the voters' decision. And the voters' decision was that Ray Grabowski was a top man. As I said all these many years, we don't need Washington-style politics in Clifton. We don't need cutthroat politics. We need all of us working together, because all of us are here because we want to do a good job. But if you're at each other's throats all the time that we should be spent working together, you're not going to get anything done. And if this is the way the next 4 years are going to go, we're going to continue to go down the slippery slope. Council colleagues, I'm not going to be here. January the 3rd, I'm not on the council anymore. My term is up. And maybe the Lord did me a favor, because it looks like it's going to be, right now, it looks like it's going to be a hard 4 years. But if people put aside their personal petty politics and work together, a lot can be done. Can you imagine what can be done if we can get these things on the right track? So I hope my councilors, I'm waiting to hear from them tonight, straight from the horses' mouths, what they intend to do. And I hope we're not going to get, as Frank Sylvester used to say, a lot of gobbledygook. They tried to steal from Frank Sylvester in 1974, but it fell apart. And that's why I said, I'm hoping that this falls apart, and that people don't have to come back here again tonight and come back here again on February the 3rd. People have more important things to do, especially at this time of the year. It's a season of peace on earth, goodwill to men. However, doesn't look like that's the way in Clifton tonight. As I said the week before the election, the campaign bus, the Kumbaya campaign bus, the wheels came off the bus that night. And now tonight, I think the engine's coming out of the bus too. So we all got to start working together, and let's put aside the personal petty differences and do what's right. Thank you. I want to wish everybody
Good, Pete. Good. Good.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to get some things out of the way first, and then I'm going to address everyone. Troop 21, we had 2 Eagle Scouts, Kevin Klinger and Quinn Zedrecki from St. Philip's. I don't know if we put them in yet for their proclamations, but I want to be sure that we did them. Okay. Troop 23, St. Andrews, Eagle Scout Corps of Honor, with Santiago and Zachary, Santiago Bermudez, and Zachary Miller. I want to make sure that we got them in also.
They're on the agenda, and also the proclamations are sitting in my office waiting to be picked up by the parents.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that we acknowledge these Eagle Scouts. Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Don't think for 1 second that I didn't listen to every single one of the people that came up here tonight and the tremendous amount of support. I wrote down every single thing that people said, and don't think for 1 second that I don't hear it. But I want you to know my side of the story. I want you to know that, quite frankly, this is the way our government works. Our government works. There's 2 steps in becoming mayor. The first step, as you know, is the election. We had 17 very good candidates. No matter how great they are, the top 7 become your next council. If you think for 1 second that this next council is traditional, then you haven't been watching. I have to look at that. I have to look at it as a council person, and I have to look at that as a possibility of being the mayor. Now, saying that, at no time, make this clear that I ever went to anybody to ask to be the mayor. I'm very happy at being where I am. I was actually approached and asked if I was nominated, would I take the nomination? My answer was yes. And I'm going to tell you why. This seat is open. I have a lot of respect for Ray Grabowski. But I was asked if I was nominated, would I take that? Now, that doesn't mean that I have the votes. It means that I would be nominated. Other people could be nominated also. But I want you to know, truthfully and honestly, and the people that spoke tonight talked a lot about my integrity. And trust me when I tell you, I am a law and order person. And the people that really know me know that my integrity means a lot to me. As a matter of fact, it means more to me than anything. Now, I want you to know that if Ray becomes mayor, I wouldn't wait 1 second. I would be happy for Ray. I would work hard for Ray 100%. And I would work for the city of Clifton, and I would work for our city, just like I have done my whole life. So I want you to know where exactly that comes. Now, I don't want to miss anything because I want to make sure everybody knows that came here tonight exactly where I stand. I mentioned to you before about the one-step approach for the election and 2 steps to become mayor. As you know, and I want people to understand that because these people here in our audience apparently don't know actually how our form of government works. Okay. Well, apparently, from what I've heard, it doesn't work because you think that the top vote getter, when you vote on the election, automatically becomes the mayor. That is not true. It's not true. Give me an opportunity to speak, please. I gave you yours, you give me mine, and I want to make sure that we're on the same page. Apparently, you are right. You are not on the same page. You vote for the 7 people. That is your first part of the election. Those people who become your new council vote for the mayor. That's where the issue starts again. It's a 2-step approach to become mayor. I want you to, so in the future, no matter where this goes, I want you to know in the future, unless it's changed, that is the way it went. Now, you talk about for egos. I'm very happy where I am. I am very happy for Ray. When people come to you and they ask you something, you got to give them an honest answer. I was asked. I didn't go to anybody, and make that clear. Okay? So I want you to know exactly how this whole thing came to be. I don't know how the results are going to be. So I just want you to understand exactly what my side is. Listen, if you think that I'm going to give you an answer tonight, I am not, because I am going to confer with my family. I'm going to be able to sit down. I want to think of all my options, because I think that's the right thing to do. You may disagree with me, and I'm okay with that, but I want you to know exactly where I stand. That's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, obviously, this is not a trial. I'm not on trial, Billy or the council are on trial. We're here because we represent the city and we represent the people that voted for us. Now, I believe in tradition, and I've been on the council for quite a while. Every time the question was asked, which was asked by my colleagues, if they would represent the high vote, they said yes. Now, I'm assuming, whether it was 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, what changes their mind? What changes their mind 4 years later? It doesn't make sense. You give your word. I give you my handshake. That's the handshake for life. If I give you my handshake when I was 17, that's my word. And everyone knows me. You know, I led with integrity on this council and with a lot of honor. Now, I'm a traditionalist and I believe in that. And I would, regardless, and I know if someone else was up here and they were high vote, and I had anything to do with not electing them, I know for a fact that they would be after me left and right, and we all know that here. If I was approached, I would do the honorable thing because of the tradition of Clifton. But it's not even the tradition. People vote with the assumption that the high vote becomes mayor. We've all voted. We've all had that. Thank you. And each one of us here would have loved to have had the high vote. And if they got it, they would be very offended if they went against that, because the people, we represent the people. It's not for us. So I'm not making assumptions, and I'm not here to defend myself. I'm just saying that my integrity will not be jeopardized. I believe in tradition, and if it was on the other foot, I would do it. Remember, and someone said reciprocity, and if you know what that means, it means treat others like you would be treated. And I cannot believe that if the shoe was on the other foot, that they wouldn't be offended. Now, I'm not offended. I'm not angry. I'm a little upset. I'm a little disappointed. I'll respect the will of the council, whatever it is. But like I said, this is not a trial. I worked hard, and my family worked hard, and the people in Clifton worked hard with the assumption, and everyone knows that. The assumption was this is how it is. And if you want to change this, then, you know, in 4 years from now, let's say, okay, let's change it. But the people will not be misled. And right now, the people are being misled. So whether they agree with me or not, like I said, it's not a trial, but thank everyone for the support. Thank you.
Next. Go ahead, Lauren.
I don't have a speech written for tonight, but first I would like to address what Ray Lill said about us knowing about the circumstances behind what he spoke about. I'm not even going to use any names. We as a council do not know about that because that's not in our purview. That's under the city manager. So you can point Tony whatever you want, but I never heard about it until tonight. And if you don't believe me, I'm sorry. Excuse me? Okay, well, okay. The second thing I want to say is, if I were approached, I came in third out of 17. If I were approached, do you know what I would have said? Absolutely not. as most of you know, I am a huge fan of Facebook, and I have used the word tradition 593 times in the last week, but that's what it is. And I have also said this, if we want to change the way we vote for mayor in the future, then we have to do it in the future. We don't do it at the 9th hour. That's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Okay, good evening. So, I too was going to just make a brief statement, but because you've taken your time to come out here and ask for answers, finally someone has asked, so I will answer. So first I want to start, first ask the mayor if I do go a couple minutes past my time, if you could just please allow. I think it's important for this to be said. First, I want to clarify a couple of things. Up to this point, I haven't spoken to anyone. So these are all speculations. You're assuming. And that's where I think the problem is, assumptions. These are the key words that we're going to use today. Okay? 2 key words, assumptions and entitlement. Okay, so here we go. This is a discussion. I do not do social media. I do post on social media, but I don't sit there and scroll and look at everything because, first of all, this is not something that I would address in social media. These are important things that could get lost in translation. So if you have any other questions from what I say today, please reach out to me, and I will have no problem having a phone call or meeting for lunch, but I will not address things on social media. Okay. So, Anna and Rosemary. Anna, you asked why. And Rosemary, you asked, how did we get here? So here we go. My style is not to embarrass anyone because I don't like to be embarrassed. So my style, my goal is not to embarrass Ray because I think it's tasteless to tell other people your business with someone else without giving them the opportunity to know that first. So I did speak to Ray yesterday. So now he knows why. And now I'm going to share some of that conversation with our constituents here today. So, here we go. Ray and I have spent over 4 years on council together serving, and we usually don't agree, but that's okay. It's okay for us not to agree. But one thing I will not accept is disrespect. And that's just something that Ray has shown me over and over again. It's disrespect. Now, what do you mean by disrespect? That's so broad. So I'm going to just, because of the time constraint, I'm going to give you one example, which actually just happened, just recently happened. It was during election time. And it was the Polish flag raising on a Saturday. I remember it was raining, we had to bring it in. A beautiful event. Actually, it was a pastor you had here, a priest, pastor, I apologize, I'm not sure it's the right title, but he actually stood there and he spoke in Spanish. He spoke in Polish, I thought it was beautiful. And the message that he sent was unity. So the next day, you had in your community the Polish parade. So I went with 2 people of my team. And to my great surprise, I was the only elected official there with the exception of Ray and the sheriff. And as I approached Ray, because obviously I'm a visitor, right? This is not my community, and I'm trying to see who I know, which I knew no one. I approached Ray, and he greeted me with, "What are you doing here? This is my community." I am so thankful that there were people there, because if there weren't, you would never believe me. So for those of you who know me, how I usually handle things, I don't let people show that it affects me right away, right? So I brush it off. I have thick skin, right? I have a whole bunch of kids. So he made that comment again, one more time, but now it's time to walk, right? So I am finding, where do I stand? The sheriff is in the front, right, leading the parade, and I go by Ray. I'm sticking next to Ray. It's his community. So we take a couple steps, parade's about to start, and a lady comes and grabs Ray by the hand and signals for him to go walk in the front with the sheriff. He turned around, he looked at me for a brief 3 seconds. I'm assuming he thought, should I tell her to come with me? But he opted not to. If you look at the videos, because they're on Facebook, you see that I'm walking at the back of the line. The guest in the Polish community, while he walked in the front. He told me, because I brought this up to him yesterday, oh, this wasn't a political thing. You're absolutely right. I was a guest. So we get to the church where everyone takes the big picture in front of this church. And we're talking, and he says, oh, excuse me, my community is going to take a picture. I'll be right back. If you notice on my Facebook, you see the picture. I'm standing right in the corner. That's because the people I was there with literally pushed me and said, get in there and take that picture. You're part. You can be part of that. So that was not an experience that I've ever had before with Ray. So that started putting a bad taste in my mouth. So now let's fast forward to today. We are now a month into this post-election. And it was only yesterday, the first time, that Ray reached out to me. Okay? So, again, the key words, assumption and entitlement. So without picking up the phone, right, and asking if he has my support, even though it's tradition, he's already picking out the colors to the office. He's already picking out new furniture to the mayor's office. He's already picking up who's going to do the prayer service for the swearing in. This is not just his prayer service. This is also my moment too, her moment, all our moments. What do you mean you're picking out the prayer service? Don't you want my input? Oh, we're picking out committees too. Well, how do you know what committees I want to be on? Because God knows that I don't want to stand another 4 years as a sitting duck on this council because I wasn't put on any committees 4 years ago, and the mayor didn't think it was important for me to be a well-rounded councilwoman to be rotated within committees. What do you mean you're picking out committees? So to me, that's arrogance. That is arrogance, since we can all agree, because one thing we have all agreed up there is that the highest vote getter is tradition to be mayor, not the law. It's tradition, okay? I don't have a problem following tradition. When people, I'm sorry, just let me know when you're done, because I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yes, listen, yeah.
I don't want to be, I don't want to be disrespectful.
Listen,
Can you
it's
control
her
your
turn to
meeting?
talk. Just let her talk. Okay.
Okay, so when speaking to Ray, he tried to make the argument that we have to respect the vote of the will of the voter, right? The argument, even though it's an assumption because the voter just voted to re-elect all of us as council people. But okay, let's go with that thought. You're right. Let's respect the will of the voter. You ready for this, Chris? So why didn't you respect the will for the voters when the voters voted to legalize cannabis? That was the vote. Wait, hold on, but that is not, wait a second. What's good for the gooses and good for, is that how we're doing this? But that is not the reason why.
Listen.
That is not the reason why.
Hold on a minute, Rosie. Listen, in the beginning of the meeting, I explained, we have to have decorum. So shouldn't be any reaction when the council people are speaking.
That is not the reason why. I just want to point out the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy. So let me point out another hypocrisy. I'm going to just jump to Councilman-elect Kaloje, because this is on record. Let me remind you, at the PAC debate that we had, wasn't too long ago, you can find it on YouTube, maybe somebody can help me get the clip. The question was asked at PAC. There was a two-folded question. Who do you think, if it was the highest vote getter, would you follow tradition about the highest vote getter? And if so, this is optional, who would you vote for mayor? Councilman Kaloje's answer was, because no one knew who was going to vote, who was going to win, or who was going to be the highest vote getter, his answer was, well, who I think should be the highest vote getter should be the people who at least have 2 terms under their belt. And he specified those 3 people, Ray Grabowski, Bill Gibson, and Lauren Murphy. So then the assumption should be made that if Tony Latona was the highest vote getter, tradition would be broken because he doesn't have 2 terms under his belt. If I was the highest vote getter, I didn't deserve to be mayor because I don't have 2 years under my belt, 2 terms under my belt, right? Because these were your, you know, waging your bet, right? You don't know who the highest vote getter is going to be, but now that it's one of your 3, now we're going to follow tradition. No, that's hypocrisy. And for those of you who do not want to see that, it's crazy to me. So let's go back to, and I'm almost done, Mayor. So finally, I will tell you something. Finally, I'm going to leave you with this.
Okay, you have to finish up because.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to leave you with this. It's okay. We're going to agree to disagree. But the vote, 4 years ago, we made history. It was the first time a minority seat got a seat at the table. 4 years ago, my vote isn't going to be just given because of tradition. Guess what happened 4 years ago? When I started campaigning to get a seat at the table here with the Board of Ed, you know what I was told at one of the meetings? We don't campaign on that side of Clifton because they don't come out to vote. It's been 10 years that my community has been working to get our people out to vote. So for you to think that I'm just going to give my vote because of tradition to a man who cannot even pick up the phone to call me and not only show me respect, but show my community respect, I'm sorry. This is the councilwoman you have in Rosemary Pino. So until the day that Mr. Grabowski is able to respect me as his colleague, you can boo. It's okay. It's okay. And I wish you all a
Okay, your
wonderful
time's up.
night. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, hey, you're out of order. Listen. The time for the public to speak is over. Okay, next, go ahead.
Mayor, let's have some decorum at this meeting, please.
Thank you for just keeping quiet, thank you.
Here I go.
Let's go.
Well, first of all, Bentley doesn't want to be mayor. He told me that before I came here. Now let's get on to business. Mayor, through you to the city manager. Mr. Villano, several meetings ago, and somebody this evening brought up the flooding. I suggested reaching out and calling the Army Corps of Engineers. Have you done that?
Yes, the city engineer did.
And?
And they are not going to assist the city with the
They're not?
cleanup. No.
Who told you that? And
I
I'd like
could
to
get
know.
you the contact. I didn't talk to him
Okay,
personally, but
then
I
I
could get you
think
that.
we need to go to our legislative people. Pasquale just won an election. That's what the Army Corps of Engineers is all about. They helped a friend of mine in Franklin Lakes on private property. There's no reason why we can't use our pool as one of the largest cities in the state of New Jersey to get help from our state officials. So if that requires a motion or put on for the next council, to make that motion to have this council, as one of its last acts, write a letter to our legislative people to ask the Army Corps of Engineers for help. Please, if that requires a second, to please put that on the agenda for the next meeting. But the residents have waited long enough. Mr. Villano, also, the master plan. We have waited since 2018. When is that master plan going to be ready?
The master plan has been submitted to the planning board. They were supposed to have taken action at the last meeting, but it's been postponed to the January meeting, so that way the new council and the new, if there's any new appointments, that will all be. But it was postponed to the January meeting.
Well, Am I wrong? But I thought the planning board, the members are reappointed when their term is up. How many planning board members are up on January 31st?
It was just the planning board decided that they will be carried to the January meeting for the re-examination.
Well, I do hope that it is their action. It's long enough. Mayor, also through to the city manager, to the legal, I believe there was supposed to have been a resolution on this agenda for this council to have the swearing in as required by state statute on January 3rd, not January 1st by noon. We discussed that at the last meeting. Remember, you provided the state statute, and the state statute clearly says that we can have the swearing in anytime the first week, as long as there is a resolution of the governing body.
That'll be on for the next meeting.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see what else. Oh, I have a question. The swearing in is January 3rd, but I've been told the reorganization meeting is January 9th. I'm hearing different things now. No? Sure, please, Nancy.
Okay. January 3rd at 6 o'clock, here will be a special meeting. I will be officially swearing all of you in. We will then choose, you will then choose the mayor.
At the
okay?
January 3rd meeting?
At the January 3rd, 6 o'clock special meeting. At 6:30, we're going right into our regular meeting, okay? January 9th is the ceremony,
okay,
so to speak. You all have people that swear you in, okay, which is not official, okay? The official swearing in is January 3rd at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, because there was a lot of confusion. Some people thought it was January 3rd. Some people thought it was January 9th. Where do you start? First of all, I think everyone knows who I am, and everyone knows what I stand for. But I was very offended tonight to hear my heritage, my Polish heritage, I am 100% Polish, be attacked. I have never seen a more welcoming group of people than the Polish people. And I am sorry that that has happened to all my fellow Polish people. I'm not going to sit here and to you and tonight and say anything, because this is not the time or place. The question, what should be asked, first of all, the new council hasn't even been sworn in yet. That's a question for the council. And what I saw tonight is terrible. We talk about unity. We talk about this. Where have some people been for the last 4 years? Where have they been? Where have they been? There's nobody been more disrespected than yours truly. But I'm not gonna hold that against anyone or anything else. That's not gonna weigh. This is so inappropriate, as typical as the last 4 years have been. Inappropriate behavior, inappropriate. We preach, oh, we all get along. You know what? I'm not going to do that tonight. You will hear my vote on January 3rd when the new council is sworn in. But I can tell you I am not part of any coup. So who were those people that kept referring to me without name? We all know who you were referring to. But you know what? It's time you get your facts straight. And I'm sick and tired of you taking my name and my family's name through the mud. Shame on you people. My sister almost had a seizure in this courtroom from the disrespect that somebody did. And if it wasn't for Judy Basford sitting there holding my sister, and I couldn't leave this dais and go and comfort her because I knew people would say, oh, she can't take the heat. You people, anyone, sit here and experience a family member, a disabled family member being exposed and being ridiculed like that. There wasn't one person and other than Judy, that stood up and said it's wrong. And you're right, Judy. To this day, no one has picked up the phone and called me and said it was sinful what happened. So let's talk. You know what? Actions speak louder than words. You could talk about disrespect all you want, but your own actions have shown that you do not follow and do not respect others. And that's what I have to say. Thank you very much. I'm sorry that everyone came out, and I'm appalled. I'm appalled at the behavior of some of my colleagues.
Okay. Peter made a nice comment before about St. Nicholas Day. You know, it's the Christmas season. It's a time when we all should be unified and show that spirit of the season, but that hasn't happened in the last 5 days. And it's very, very sad for my city, for our city, for our hometown. But I guess sometimes things get carried away with themselves. And I think somebody made the point that, you know, most people in the audience probably would rather be home behind a TV or maybe out Christmas shopping. But you're here tonight because you want to speak, and that's important. You know, I've served the city since I worked for the city as a summer kid in 1970, cleaning bathrooms in the parks and cutting grass. And ever since then, I've had, I guess you would call it, a love affair with the people of this city, and with many, many of our people who have served on council and in different committees and commissions. And I think that my dedication to the city was rewarded many times. And I came out first 8 times. And nobody ever questioned who the mayor was going to be. It was just the way it was. But I want you to know this. The very first time, in 1990, Lester Hershaft, who was a very, very good friend, as a matter of fact, his wife and him, when they signed birthday cards or Christmas cards, used to put mom and dad. He was 94 votes less than me. And I remember to this day the quote that he gave to the press. His quote was, "Jimmy's a good boy, he's our friend, and I'm so happy for him." That's the way it should be in life. We're a beautiful community, 90,000 people now. It's a big place. But sometimes people get to the microphone and you could really understand that they have no clue to the system of government here. You know, we've been proud to have, since 1934, the city manager form of government. The members of the council have not even one scintilla of effect on any of our employees. They have no interaction about our employees. And when somebody comes up to the mic and says things that are libelous and slanderous and wrong, I think most people who are sitting in this audience tonight, and probably the people who are watching at home, know that's not the Jim Inzaldi they know. I don't know how to be a bully. I've never known how to be a bully my whole life. But sometimes people, they should be looking in the mirror because they themselves are the bully of bullies. You know, I don't really say too many things about people who do things to try to intimidate us. And certainly, if it's an employee of the city, I know to watch because it is not in our purview to be over employees. But I'm just going to give you a couple little scenarios of things that have happened, not now only, it's happened for many years, and I've remained silent. I may have talked to one member of the council who I thought maybe could help out in the situation, but that didn't work. You know, here I am, older now, going down Allwood Road towards the circle. And you know, when you get to the roundabout, you have to stop because you have to wait for the people to go around. All of a sudden, I hear this crazy beeping, stomping. I didn't know what it was. And I realized it was one of our employees, no longer an employee, but one of our employees. And it didn't shock me because so many times in public places, that employee has attacked me, bullied me, called me out by names. Unfortunately, it continues to happen. Just happened the other night at the Christmas tree lighting. And I've remained silent, absolutely silent. But you know what? In the laws of the land, there's something called slander and libel. And I have said it many, many times. You've probably heard it from me many, many times because it happens sometimes. Somebody gets up to the mic. We have the one guy gets up to the mic, and I have a lady who sent me an email. It was almost hilarious the way she looked at that person at the mic, what he was saying about me. And luckily, I've been very fortunate. There's not many people that say too many bad things about me. I'm very lucky. But I decided about a year ago not to run for re-election for lots of reasons. One major reason, everybody knows it. I just didn't like the direction of what was happening in government. I wasn't happy with employees coming to us and saying they were being harassed or bullied. And it bothered me a lot because the employees of the city are only here to work hard, and most of them are really great employees. I think almost all the ones I've met over these years. They have no reason to be bullied. And, we had to have some things that I never would expect would happen in Clifton government, but they happened in the last 4 years. And they just dampened my spirits. So on December 31st, I'm going to leave and be happy as best I can be, probably bittersweet, but happy. It's been very difficult cleaning out the office after 33 years of being in it. So many different kinds of awards and mementos and things of that sort. But I remembered one thing, that throughout these many years of service, that I always have never said I. It's always been we. And there's been so many times where we've had the opportunity to make Clifton shine. Things like Money Magazine naming us one of the top 100 cities in the country. Things like raising kids in the best places in the country. One of the most recent was one of the best places for singles to live. And that has to do sometimes with some of the construction and development that has taken place, that gives people places to live. And people are able to go to the city easily because of Route 3 and the train. These are all things that the mothers and fathers of the past built for the city. Now, we don't always have to agree on what's to be done or what's going to be done. By the way, somebody mentioned about the master plan. The master plan has been, there's two different kinds of master plans. One is a big, huge master plan that's does everything over. Then there's just a re-examination of the master plan, which we've done a number of times over the last 40 plus years. And one is going on right now, and it's probably going to be presented to the planning board in January for final approval. That already had, there was a public hearing where people came. It was a few people who gave suggestions which were put in the master plan. That's the way cities run. But when somebody gets that mic and says just plain lies, never once, not one scintilla of a time did I ever do anything to that person. Never, not once. And that's where I really start to challenge in my mind, what's wrong with that person? Maybe there is something wrong, and it's really scary to me because from my gentleman Jim side, I feel sorry. I feel sorry for when somebody has a problem. Hopefully they go get help and they can have a more productive life. But I can't sit here and just not answer. I saw something the other day on somebody's screenshot to me. Haters don't really hate you. They hate themselves because you're a reflection of what they wish to be. And if there's anything I want to tell you, dignity in office is so important. You can't stoop to their level. It's not a good thing. So, as I am in my last 20 days, whatever it is now, I leave you this. I'm here forever. You know, the story I've always said is that my parents brought me to the house on Day Street when I was 3 days old, and someday Mr. Morocco is going to come with the stretcher to take me out. I hope it's not soon, but I'm prepared and ready, because you know what? The greatest judge is not anyone on this earth. The greatest judge is you know who, and that's God himself. And I hope that I can get to that door and hear, well done, good and faithful servant, because I've worked my life well for you. God bless you all. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I have one. Nancy, you want to read the in-camera session, please?
Items discussed in executive session this evening were 1, 519 Paget Ave tax appeal, 2, Costco Bridewell Place easement negotiations, 3, Catherine Deutsch versus City of Clifton et al., 4, IBEW contract negotiations, 5, redevelopment Township of Nutley versus Clifton Planning Board, 6, personnel
what that's
matter,
about.
question regarding pension status of former employee. I have 2 late resolutions, Mayor.
Go ahead.
R582, resolution canceling general capital fund grant balances. 583, resolution authorizing permission to solicit proposals via informal quotations for concession of vending machines.
Can I have a,
Okay, go ahead.
one more?
I'm also going to need a motion to pull R569 and 574.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
Mayor?
that motion.
Hearing no
Mr. Mayor?
objections,
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, what?
It's
sorry.
very difficult to conduct business, sir. Should we
Okay,
wait
okay.
until the folks leave or have them leave
Okay,
quietly?
no, I think we're doing, we're hearing
I
very well.
can't hear, I can't hear.
Oh, you
Well,
can't hear? Okay.
No.
Okay, can everybody just take the talking outside if you can, so that we could hear? We want to just finish up the meeting. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Nancy.
Okay, I need a,
They just did it.
There
Ray
was a
did it.
motion made and seconded to take those
pull
off.
those?
Okay?
Can I get a separate roll call?
There's no objections to that motion, so ordered. Go ahead.
Okay, do you
Can I
have
get
any
a s-
exceptions?
She's got,
You have an exception first?
yeah, I have a claims exception, page 1 of 26, 6472.
I make a motion that Mayor, that Ray Grabowski chairs the meeting.
Like to have a motion on 6472? Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Eagler?
Yes.
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski?
Yes.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Pino? Councilman Sedgwick?
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi abstain. Okay, Mary.
Can I get separate roll call? They can be together, 543 and 544.
Can we do them together or not?
Yeah, you can do them together.
I'll move
5083 and 5084, can we have a motion?
All right, we need a
Mr. Mayor?
motion for 543.
So moved.
Peter, second.
Second.
Billy?
Okay.
And then
motion
can I'll make a
Wait,
motion.
we have to, we didn't
Let's
vote on
finish
those.
this one.
Can
All right, we need
we have
roll call.
motions on those 2 exceptions?
Have that motions on the exceptions.
Who has exceptions?
I have no idea. We,
No, we need a roll call. We need a roll call.
Hold off for a second so we can hear.
right, it's roll call on 543 and 544. Councilman Eagler?
544 was pulled, right?
Councilman Gibson?
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Grabowski? Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Pino?
Yes.
Councilman Sedgwick?
No.
Mayor Rinaldi?
Yes.
Motion
Mayor,
carried.
rather,
Wait,
Nancy, 544 was pulled.
No, 545
It
was pulled. 540, no. No,
549
544 wasn't pulled.
569 and
Oh, yes, yes, you're
574
right.
were pulled.
He's
The
right, no.
Dedication by rider was
544
pulled. That
Right,
was
that's
action
right.
A1, Resolution 544.
Yeah, that's right. That was my mistake.
So
I'm
you-
sorry.
you
That
can't
was
vote on that.
544 was pulled.
All right, so
Was
we'll cross
tabled,
it.
wasn't it? It was tabled.
Yes, let's,
Tabled, right?
this was, so everybody knows what we're talking about, this was the dedication by rider.
rider,
It
and
was
Yes.
tabled to the first
the
meeting in
first council
January,
meeting of
yes.
All right.
Just 543.
All right, so 543 is,
I just separate on
was a
that.
separate roll call. 544 is to table. Can I have a
Tabled.
motion?
Motion to table 544.
Second.
Second.
Councilman Eagler.
Yes, let's get home.
Councilman Gibson.
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedgwick.
Yeah.
Mayor Rinaldi.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And then we need a motion to table R 570, 571, 572, and 573. So that's motion to table, which we talked about in the
Okay,
work
second.
session.
Motion that,
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Eagler.
Yes.
Councilman Gibson.
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski.
yes.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedgwick.
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi.
Yes.
Motion carried. Group.
Motion to move the group.
Roll call?
Councilman Eagler. Yes. Councilman Gibson.
Yes.
Councilman Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sedgwick.
Yes.
Mayor Rinaldi.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's, meeting's adjourned. Not too bad.
Interesting night.